When life tries to strip you of your worth, the first battlefield it attacks is your mind. That's where the war is waged, inside the whispers of insecurity, in the questions of whether you are enough, in the moments when rejection seems louder than love. But here's the truth. A strong mindset is not born in comfort. It's not born when everyone is cheering for you, clapping their hands and saying, "You've got this." A strong mindset is forged in the silence, in the seasons when you are overlooked, in the nights when tears become your pillow, in the mornings when you rise with nothing but faith to hold on to. That's where the real strength is born. It's in those moments when you decide that the loudest voice in your life will not be the voice of failure, not the voice of abandonment, not the voice of fear, but the voice of your own belief that says, "I still matter. I still carry purpose. I still belong here." You see, self-belief isn't arrogance. It's survival. It's looking at every broken piece of your story and saying, "Even this will work for my good." When your mindset shifts into that territory, there is nothing more powerful than the decision to rise. People can question your worth. Circumstances can test your faith. Seasons can try to break your spirit, but a mind anchored in belief cannot be shaken. And let me tell you, that kind of belief is not built overnight. It comes from every time you were told you couldn't and you chose to try anyway. Every time you were told you weren't enough and you decided to stand anyway. Every time you stumbled, but instead of staying down, you got back up with even more determination than before. A strong mindset does not wait for approval to move forward. It does not wait for validation to take the next step. It recognizes that the power to succeed was never in the hands of those who doubted you. The power has always been inside you. And once you realize that, once you taste that truth, you no longer settle for crumbs when you were made for the feast. You no longer beg for seats at tables where your name was never meant to be written. Instead, you build your own table, you pull up your own chair, and you feast on the fruit of your own resilience. That's what happens when belief becomes your foundation. You stop asking for permission to be great. But let me be real with you, believing in yourself is not always glamorous. Sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes it feels like you're climbing uphill while the world around you is telling you to give up. Sometimes you'll have to remind yourself every morning, "I am worthy. I am capable. I am chosen." And that repetition, that declaration, that decision to believe again and again, that's what builds the armor of your mindset. That's what turns wounds into wisdom, pain into power, and rejection into redirection. Because the truth is, the loudest chains in your life are not the ones wrapped around your hands or your feet. They're the ones wrapped around your mind. They whisper, "You're not strong enough. You're not good enough. You'll never make it." And the only way those chains are broken is when you start speaking louder than the lies. When you decide that your belief will not be silenced, no matter how heavy the burden or how loud the doubt. That's when freedom takes root. That's when your steps become ordered. That's when you stop merely surviving and start thriving. And here's the secret. Once you've built that mindset, no one can take it away from you. Life can shift, people can walk away, storms can come, but your mind, anchored in self-belief, will carry you through every season. That's the kind of strength that doesn't just endure, it transforms. It transforms how you see yourself, how you move in the world, how you rise in moments that should have broken you. It makes you unshakable, untouchable, unstoppable. So when the voices of doubt come, and they will, you won't crumble. You won't bend under the pressure. You'll stand because you've already been through the fire and you've already decided who you are. You'll look back at every moment you could have given up but didn't, and you'll realize that your belief has always been your superpower. And that right there is why a strong mindset will always be your greatest weapon. Because when you believe in yourself louder than the world doubts you, you become the very thing no one expected, unbreakable. There comes a point in your life when you realize that no matter what storms you've walked through, no matter what opinions have been spoken over you, Your identity is not up for negotiation. You've tried to shrink before, haven't you? You've tried to make yourself smaller so someone else could feel big. You've dimmed your light so their insecurity wouldn't feel exposed. You've carried the weight of being overlooked, undervalued, and misunderstood. And yet through it all, something inside of you refused to disappear. That something was the whisper of who you really are. The whisper that said, you were never created to fit into spaces that couldn't contain you. When you begin to recognize your true identity, you stop apologizing for existing. You stop begging to be accepted. You stop trying to earn worth that was already built into your DNA. Knowing who you are doesn't mean arrogance. It means alignment. It means finally lining up with the truth that has been waiting for you to claim it all along. And let me tell you, the moment you claim it, everything changes. You no longer settle for being tolerated when you were meant to be celebrated. You no longer bend your values just to keep someone else comfortable. You no longer allow people's perception to dictate your direction. Because when you know who you are, their labels can't stick, their judgments can't bind, and their silence can't silence you. This kind of identity is not found in titles or applause. It's not found in who claps for you or who ignores you. It's rooted in something deeper, your spirit, your essence, your calling. That's why no matter how many times life has tried to bury you, you've always risen again. Because who you are at your core cannot be destroyed, only discovered. And every season of rejection, every season of loss, every season where you thought you wouldn't make it, it wasn't destroying you, it was revealing you. It was peeling back the layers of who you thought you had to be so that the world could finally see who you really are. And I know it's hard because the pressure to conform is heavy. The pressure to play small is real. People will try to mold you into the version of you that's easiest for them to handle. They'll try to tell you, stay here. Don't grow too fast. Don't shine too bright. But when you know your identity, you realize that shrinking doesn't serve anyone. Dimming doesn't protect anyone. You were created to stand tall, to take up space, to embody the fullness of your truth without apology. That's not pride. That's obedience to the calling that's been placed over your life. And let me tell you something about identity. Once you embrace it, you become untouchable. People can talk, but they can't tear you down. They can try to define you, but their words fall flat against the walls of your truth. They can walk away, but you won't crumble. Because your foundation isn't in their approval. It's in the unshaken knowledge of who you are. And when you move from that place, peace becomes your anchor. You don't chase after things that don't align with you anymore. You don't settle for half love, half truth, half effort. You stand in the fullness of your worth and say, this is me whole and unshaken, and I will not bend. Knowing your identity also means recognizing that not everyone will understand you, and that's okay. Not everyone has the capacity to see the strength you carry, the light you hold, the purpose you walk in. But you weren't created to be understood by everyone. You were created to be authentic to yourself. And authenticity is costly. It will cost you people. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you spaces you thought you belonged in. But what you gain in return is far greater. You gain freedom. You gain clarity. You gain the unshakable assurance that you are exactly where you are supposed to be, even if the world doesn't clap for it. So no more shrinking. No more apologizing. No more negotiating your value with people who couldn't afford it, even if they tried. You are unshaken because you know who you are. You are powerful because you know where you stand. And you are unstoppable because your identity is not for sale, not for compromise, not for debate. When you stand in that truth, you don't just survive life, you command it. And that is the strength no storm, no season, and no circumstance can ever take away. There is a kind of strength that doesn't just come from lifting yourself up. It comes from refusing to be pulled down. A strong mind is not one that never faces manipulation, but one that refuses to bow to it. Life will always present moments where someone tries to twist the truth, bend your vision, or blur your sense of reality. But when your mind is anchored in resilience, you stop being tossed by every wind that blows your way. You learn to discern the difference between what is real and what is designed to confuse you. You learn that not every voice deserves access to your spirit, and not every narrative deserves space in your thoughts. Resilience is built in the quiet decisions you make every day. It's in the moment you choose to pause instead of reacting. It's in the way you remind yourself that your worth is not defined by someone else's opinion or approval. Manipulation loses its grip when you realize you don't need the strings it tries to pull. You stop dancing to tunes that don't align with your truth, and you stop apologizing for cutting ties with environments that feed you lies. That's what resilience does. It protects you from being entangled in webs that were never yours to carry. A strong mindset is not gullible because it has been through too much to be fooled by surface appearances. It recognizes patterns, remembers lessons, and sees through the mask. And here's the thing, people who want to control you depend on you forgetting your strength. They depend on you questioning your instincts. But resilience stands tall and says, I trust what I see, I trust what I know, and I trust myself enough to walk away when something doesn't serve me. That trust is what makes your mind unmovable. That's what keeps you from being tossed into cycles you've already broken free from. But don't mistake resilience for hardness. It's not about building walls so high no one can reach you. It's about building boundaries so strong that nothing unworthy can stay. Resilience doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you stop being deceived. It doesn't mean you stop giving. It means you give wisely. It doesn't mean you become bitter. It means you become better at guarding your peace. When you live in that kind of strength, manipulation has no place to take root. It can knock, it can push, it can try, but it cannot stay because your mind is too grounded in truth to allow it. And let's be honest, resilience is not easy to build. It's forged in fire, in betrayal, in lessons that broke you down but also built you up. It's created in the nights when you cried but still prayed, in the mornings when you wanted to quit but kept moving anyway. That kind of strength doesn't come without scars. But those scars are proof that you've already survived what was meant to destroy you. They are evidence that you've walked through storms and still stand unshaken. And once you know that about yourself, you cannot be easily moved. The beauty of resilience is that it teaches you to choose peace over chaos. It teaches you to choose clarity over confusion. It teaches you to choose yourself over manipulation. And every time you make that choice, you reinforce the foundation of your mind. You make it harder for lies to take root, harder for doubt to find a home, harder for negativity to drain you. That's why resilience is not just a shield, it's also a sword. It doesn't just protect you, it empowers you to fight back, not with anger or revenge, but with wisdom and truth. When your mind is resilient, you no longer fall for distractions that once trapped you. You no longer invest in cycles that once drained you. You no longer respond to every pull or tug that demands your energy. You learn to pause, to breathe, to assess, and to respond from strength instead of weakness. That is where true power lies, not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. So when the storms of manipulation come, and when the voices of deception try to cloud your vision, you won't be shaken, you won't be swayed. You won't be broken, because resilience is louder than confusion, stronger than deception, and more enduring than any trick designed to derail you. And that is why a strong mind will always outlast the storm. There is a kind of strength that doesn't look like the world expects it to. It's not always loud. It's not always about standing tall with fire in your eyes. And it's not always about proving people wrong. Sometimes strength looks like peace. Sometimes it looks like choosing silence over arguments, calm over chaos, and inner steadiness over outward noise. There's a power that comes from refusing to let anything or anyone disturb the sanctuary of your mind. That peace is not weakness. It's warfare already won. Because let's be real, Chaos will always try to find its way into your life. Distractions will come. Drama will knock at your door. Negativity will try to rent space in your thoughts. And you can waste years fighting battles you don't even need to fight. You can lose your joy trying to explain yourself to people who have no interest in understanding you. You can drain your spirit trying to fix what was never yours to fix. But when your mind is strong, when you've built peace on the inside, you learn the power of saying, this chaos will not live in me. That's not avoidance. That's protection. That's knowing you were not created to carry every storm. Peace is a decision. And it's one of the hardest ones to make, because choosing peace means letting go of control. It means accepting that some people will misunderstand you. Some doors will close on you. Some opportunities will pass you by. And yet you can still be steady. Choosing peace means refusing to match energy with those who only bring confusion. It means holding on to your stillness even when the storm rages. And that kind of choice requires courage, because it takes more strength to stay calm than it does to react. See, peace is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of clarity in the middle of them. It's the voice that says, I will not let this situation define me. I will not let this chaos decide how I feel about myself. When you live with that mindset, your peace becomes untouchable. It becomes the anchor that holds you steady when everything else is shifting, and people will notice it. They'll look at you and wonder how you're still standing, how you're still smiling, how you're still walking with grace when everything around you tried to shake you. But that's the beauty of peace. It becomes the testimony of your strength without you having to shout it. Peace also creates space for growth. When your mind isn't constantly consumed with chaos, you finally have room to heal, to reflect, to build, and to dream again. That's why protecting your peace is not selfish. It's necessary, because the version of you that lives in peace is the version of you that can show up whole, grounded, and powerful. And that's the version that can't be shaken by whispers, can't be moved by rumors, can't be controlled by fear. But I won't pretend it's easy. Protecting your peace will cost you. It will cost you arguments you wanted to win, but chose not to fight. It will cost you relationships you wanted to keep, but had to release. It will cost you opportunities that look good, but didn't align with your spirit. And it will cost you the comfort of fitting in with people who thrive on noise. But every cost is worth it when you realize what you gain, because what you gain is freedom. Freedom from the weight of always needing to respond. Freedom from the pressure of always needing to defend. Freedom from the chaos that tried to keep you bound. And the truth is, peace isn't passive, it's active. It's you waking up each day and choosing not to carry what doesn't belong to you. It's you setting boundaries and meaning them. It's you trusting that you don't have to chase after what was never meant for you. It's you releasing the urge to prove your worth to those who can't see it. That's what makes peace powerful. It's not just something you feel, it's something you practice. So don't underestimate the quiet. Don't overlook the calm. Don't mistake stillness for weakness. Because when you've reached that place where you can stand in peace, no matter what's happening around you, you've already won battles most people don't even know how to fight. And that kind of victory can't be stolen. There is something beautiful about growth that no one can take away from you. You can strip a person of possessions, relationships, and opportunities, but you cannot strip them of the lessons they've earned through pain and the strength they've built through healing. That's why growth carries a glow, because it's evidence of survival. It's proof that the storm didn't end you, and it's the quiet victory you carry into every room you walk into. When you rise out of seasons that should have broken you, there is a light that follows you, a strength that speaks for you before you even open your mouth. The truth is, growth doesn't always feel good when it's happening. It hurts. It stretches. It demands you to let go of versions of yourself that you once clung to. It forces you to release habits, people, and mindsets that you thought you needed. And in the moment, it feels like loss. But when you look back, you realize it was never loss. It was transformation. Every tear watered the soil of your future. Every disappointment pushed you closer to your real self. Every ending carved space for a new beginning you didn't even know was waiting for you. Healing is not pretty, but it is powerful. And when healing meets growth, you start to glow in ways you never expected. Your voice carries more authority. Your presence commands more respect. Your spirit radiates more peace. And it's not because life suddenly became easier. It's because you became stronger. You stopped allowing brokenness to define you, and you started allowing it to refine you. That glow is not surface level. It's rooted in the depth of who you've become. And here's what's remarkable: growth is often noticed more by others than by yourself. You'll walk into spaces where people once remembered you as timid, insecure, or unsure, and they'll see a version of you that's unrecognizable. They'll wonder where the confidence came from, where the calmness came from, where the strength came from. And you'll know it came from the nights of wrestling with your own reflection, the mornings of deciding not to quit, the countless moments of rebuilding yourself piece by piece. The glow of growth is not instant. It's cultivated over time, and it shines because it was earned. But here's the part that often gets overlooked: growth makes you dangerous to the things that once held you. The insecurities that once silenced you no longer have a grip. The patterns that once kept you stuck no longer feel like home. The pain that once haunted you becomes a story of triumph instead of a scar of shame. That's why the glow of growth is so powerful. It tells every force that tried to break you, I won. Without needing to fight, without needing to shout, your presence alone becomes the declaration of victory. And don't misunderstand, growth doesn't mean perfection. You'll still have moments of doubt, moments of weakness, moments when the old wounds try to whisper again. But growth means you don't stay there anymore. You don't let those moments define you. You've built enough strength to acknowledge them without being consumed by them. Growth means you know better, so you do better. It means you've tasted freedom, and you refuse to settle for chains again. It means you understand your worth on a level that no one can strip away. Sometimes growth shows up as patience you never had before. Sometimes it's the ability to forgive without losing yourself. Sometimes it's the wisdom to walk away from what doesn't serve you without guilt. Sometimes it's the resilience to keep going when everything tells you to stop. That's why growth glows, because it shifts not only what you do, but who you are. It shapes your character, your outlook, your future. And no matter how much someone tries to deny it, they cannot ignore the evidence of it in your life. And let me tell you this, growth is contagious. When you glow from your healing, you inspire others to believe they can too. When you rise, you give permission for others to rise. Your glow becomes a light for those still trapped in their dark seasons, reminding them that transformation is possible. And that is how your healing not only changes you, but it ripples outward and changes the atmosphere around you. The glow of growth is the loudest response you'll ever need. There comes a turning point in life when you realize that the most powerful decision you can ever make is to choose yourself. For so long, you may have poured into others, bent yourself backward to make sure they were comfortable, stretched yourself thin to keep the peace, and dimmed your own light so that others wouldn't feel exposed by your glow. You gave and you gave. And you gave, sometimes until you didn't even recognize yourself anymore. And then came that moment, the moment when you realized you had been surviving on empty. That realization isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Because that's the moment you decide that your joy, your freedom, and your healing matter enough to finally choose yourself. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you stop loving people. It doesn't mean you stop giving. It doesn't mean you close your heart. What it does mean is that you stop abandoning yourself in the process. It means you stop putting yourself last on the list of priorities. It means you stop sacrificing your own well-being just to keep someone else's world spinning. It's not selfish. It's necessary. Because you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't keep everyone else standing while you're crumbling inside. Choosing yourself is about filling your own cup first, so that when you pour, it comes from overflow instead of depletion. And let's be honest, it's not easy. Choosing yourself will cost you. It will cost you relationships that only thrived because you kept betraying your own needs. It will cost you approval from people who only loved the version of you that served them. It will cost you comfort because it's easier to stay small than it is to rise. But every cost leads to freedom, because when you choose yourself, you start reclaiming the parts of you that were lost along the way. You remember your dreams, you rediscover your voice, you revive your sense of worth. And that revival changes everything. Choosing yourself also means setting boundaries, and boundaries are one of the purest forms of self-respect. When you say no more, you are declaring that your peace matters. When you say, I deserve better, you are affirming your worth. When you say, this doesn't serve me, you are choosing alignment over obligation. And every time you choose yourself in those small ways, you reinforce the truth that you are valuable, not because of what you can give, not because of who you can keep happy, but simply because you are worthy of being whole. And let me tell you this, when you start choosing yourself, you start to rise in ways that shock even you. You discover a strength you didn't know you had. You walk with confidence that doesn't need applause. You move with clarity that doesn't require permission. Because when your mindset is rooted in the choice to honor yourself, you stop living in survival mode and start living in purpose. You stop just existing and you start thriving. The world will try to convince you that choosing yourself is arrogance, that it's pride, that it's selfish. But the truth is, the world benefits most when you are whole. The people around you are blessed when you operate from fullness instead of exhaustion. The people connected to you are lifted when you live from abundance instead of lack. That's why choosing yourself is not only for you, it's for every life you were created to impact. When you rise, you bring others with you. When you heal, you show others that healing is possible. When you choose yourself, you teach others to believe that they are worth choosing too. And the beauty of it all is that once you start choosing yourself, you'll never go back. You'll never again settle for being half seen or half loved. You'll never again silence your voice just to make someone else comfortable. You'll never again dim your light so someone else can shine. Because once you've tasted the freedom of honoring your own worth, you cannot unlearn it. You cannot unknow it. You cannot go back to betraying yourself just to be accepted. Choosing yourself is not just a decision. It's a declaration. It's declaring that your life, your voice, your joy, and your future matter. It's declaring that you refuse to settle for less than what you deserve. It's declaring that your strength is not up for debate and your worth is not up for negotiation.